NCAA tournament. The brackets will be announced next Sunday. The Lakers beat Minnesota by 11. Anthony Davis is the first player in NBA history to finish with 27 points, 25 rebounds, 7 steals, 5 assists, and 3 block shots. The Clippers lost to Milwaukee. They played without Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. George has a sore left knee. Kawhi is nursing a groin injury. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Climate is king.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we believe that caring for the community means caring about the climate. You might have heard that we announced a pretty bold 12-month, $2 million campaign to do 4 things. Increase climate literacy, turn up the volume on communities of color in the climate conversation, connect everyday people with the resources they need to survive and thrive, and highlight frontline climate justice crusaders of color throughout this year. KBLA Talk 1580 will be bringing you insightful interviews on all of our shows to help raise your climate IQ. Each quarter this year, we will also be hosting free climate events in various communities throughout the city with food, fun, and forward-thinking conversations. Thanks to partners like LADWP, Metro, Caltrans, the Sierra Club, the California Community Foundation, the California Endowment, AQMD, MWD, and more. You'll also be hearing more about a couple of national town halls broadcasting live from Los Angeles, to which you will be invited. And we'll be rolling out a robust social media campaign on all our platforms, as well as an outdoor media campaign, all designed to educate, enlighten, and empower you in our fight for climate justice.
We want cleaner air.
Caring about the community means caring about the climate. At KBLA Talk 1580, we believe that we really can change the world if we care enough. If we care enough. If we care enough. If we care enough. If we care enough.
The Queen of Soul on the Freeway of Love. That's Aretha Franklin. I'm Tavis Smiley, and we commence this hour in conversation with Shawn Fain, president of UAW, United Auto Workers, who pulled off that historic deal months ago with the Big Three. We'll talk to him about that and what's ahead for his union. But I'd be remiss if I didn't start this hour by shouting out my brothers. I don't often do this, but I'm one of 10. And 4 of my brothers, believe it or not, work at the plant in Kokomo, Indiana. They're listening right now. They work at the plant in Kokomo, Indiana, where Shawn Fain used to work prior to becoming the head of this massive union called UAW. So I shout out all my 4 brothers. I've got more than 4, but 4 work at this plant right now, and they're listening in Kokomo, Indiana. So I love all y'all. There's your shout out. Shawn Fain, good to have you on this program, sir. How are you today?
Hey, thanks for having me, and thanks for shouting out to my hometown and my union family down there.
Oh, no. I was tickled when you came to national prominence and people started telling more about your backstory, that you were from Kokomo, Indiana. My phone started ringing because people know that while I was born in Mississippi, they're like, Tavis, there's somebody else from Kokomo, Indiana. I said, well, there are at least 2 of us, and so this tickles me to be in conversation with another, not just Hoosier, but another guy from small town Kokomo, Indiana. I'm Tavis Smiley. He's Shawn Fain, and I'm delighted to have him on this program. Let me just start by saying congratulations to you and all your brethren and sisters at UAW. I've said many times on this program, Shawn Fain, this audience heard it more than once, that I thought that the Time Person of the Year should have been labor last year, because what labor did, not just in the UAW, but all across this country, labor had a heck of a year last year. I don't know if that was a moment in time or a pattern for the future, but I wonder if I might start by asking you just to reflect on what you all were able to do last year with the big three automakers.
And I, thanks for that. And I, look, I'm perfectly happy with Taylor Swift getting all the recognition she so rightfully deserves. And, it was a great year for labor, and I think it's a sign of things to come.
Mm-hmm.
Working class people in this country, not just union members, working class people in this country are fed up. They're fed up with the massive wealth inequality in this nation and this world globally. Mm-hmm. And I think, when you saw these labor fights last year, whether it was the SAG-AFTRA, whether it was the Teamsters, whether it's the UAW, it's the same issue. And even when you go outside of unions, I mean, working class people are all feeling the same thing. They've been left behind. They're scraping to get by, having to stretch a dollar further and further, all at the hands of two words: corporate greed. And it's got to stop. We got to turn this around. And we really, our fight in the big three, it's been time for change for decades. We just needed leadership in place that was willing to take on that fight. And I'm really proud, to have been a part of that and to lead that fight. And, we accomplished things that many people when I was elected said were impossible.
Oh, yeah.
They said we couldn't bargain. We couldn't bargain for retirees. We did. They said we couldn't get cost of living back. We did. They said we couldn't get the EV battery work under our master agreements. We did. So there's a plethora of things we could talk about that went on, but it's just, and it's all a testament to the power of the membership. The membership stood together. We really came together, and that's what happens when we come together, and that's what has to happen in the future. Working class people, union or not, we've got to stand together, and we can defeat the billionaire class that way.
I know you, and not just I know you, the country now knows you, and we pay attention to you and listen to you. You are a person of faith. You are unapologetic about that. And so since you are a person of faith, as am I, I'm going to use a biblical reference here. What you were up against was really a David and Goliath story. So let me just ask you, as you look back on it, how did David beat Goliath last year? How did you win? You mentioned all the things that you all won, but how did you win?
Well, I think it was really the same thing we're looking at in this upcoming presidential race. You got to use facts. We got to put the facts out there. And unfortunately, the UAW leadership in the past has done a horrible job of speaking the truth. And we've let the companies define the narrative always in the past. So it was important to us to get in front of this and start talking about the massive inequality, the massive profits that the work of our workers created for these companies, and how they were paying out billions in dividends to shareholders. CEO pay went up 40% in 4 years. The companies made $250 billion in a decade, while worker pay remained stagnant. And so, using those things, rallying our members behind that, and rallying the public behind that issue. Mm-hmm. That's why 75% of the public supported us in our fight. And the reason why they supported us is they're living the same realities. And so, and I think the membership was ready. We've been ready. I think, COVID, as bad as a situation as that was, as horrible as a situation as that was, there was a silver lining in that. And I think it made people reflect what's important in life. Yeah. And what's important in life isn't having to work 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, or working multiple jobs to scrape to get by. We deserve better than that. And so I think, people all over this country and this world, they want their lives back. And, so that's what the fight's about. We'll
talk more about corporate greed, and we'll talk about Joe Biden and some other issues as we are pleased to be joined now by the president of the UAW, Shawn Fain, on Tavis Smiley.
This is getting good.
Yeah, man.
Tavis Smiley continues when we come forward.
What is dedication?
My biggest fear in the middle of my addiction was that my kids wouldn't have a father. And I started thinking, you know what? This isn't my story. I definitely had to become a better man to be a better father. It's important to me that my kids are empowered and truly believe that if they can think it, they can do it.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Joey, from Vermont. A farmer trying to get through the winter. Adriana from South Carolina, a single mother living paycheck to paycheck. Liam from Ohio, an injured father struggling to provide for his family. Hi, I'm Shanola Hampton, and I support the Feeding America network of food banks because they help provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
Have you fallen behind on your water and power bill? LADWP has made paying your past due bills even easier. Sign up anytime online for Level Pay to get set monthly bills that include past due amounts. Or check out the special extended payment arrangements of up to 48 months to help pay down your bill. Visit ladwp.com/cares and sign up today. That's ladwp.com/cares.
If you're an adult in need of accredited high school diploma, the Los Angeles Public Library can help. You can earn one for free in as few as 5 months online with 24/7 access. You also get a personal academic coach plus special training focused on 9 in-demand industries, as well as a resume and cover letter to advance your career. Visit the website at lapl.org/diploma. That's lapl.org/diploma.
Are you ready to ignite your potential? Special Needs Network presents the CORE Workforce Development Grant, an opportunity designed just for you. You've been there for everyone else. Now it's time to be there for yourself. Whether you're a college student or a working professional, the CORE program is here to empower you on your journey. Get paid with free specialized diversity training, mentorship, and stipend to fuel your passion, power, and purpose in the behavioral health sciences. It's time to focus on your dreams while making a difference in your community. Don't wait. Visit snnla.org/core program to apply today. Be the spark that ignites connections. Your future is waiting. Again, that's snnla.org/core program.
Who do you trust to get at the truth?
Tavis Smiley.
That's who. The conversation continues right now.
It does indeed, with the president of UAW, Shawn Fain, talking about last year's historic deal with the big three automakers and what's ahead for his union. Before I go forward, let me look back once again, or not even back. It's real time. You mentioned corporate greed. I expected that you might. Give me your assessment of how corporate greed got so out of control, particularly in your industry.
Well, I think it's been happening over the last 40 years, honestly, since Reagan took over as president. I think that was the beginning. When they busted the Patco workers, and things digressed from there. You kept having, the tax codes changed under Reagan, where corporations and the wealthy, paid less and less. And we've just seen this trickle down economic theory continue over the last 40 years. And as those things continue to happen, working class people are left to foot the bill and pay the price. And when you talk about, we have to have a great awakening in this country. We have to decide what we want this country to be. Working class people have to make a decision. Do we want to continue on this path of standing for people getting wealthy at the expense of working class people and abusing people in different areas of the country or different nations where they can abuse the environment and don't have, labor restrictions and, they're paying people pennies on the dollar for labor? Or are we going to stand up and fight for a future of the country that we want this to be? And I think, this is about humanity. Mm-hmm. And, and we've really got to get people focused. I mean, how this happens, the billionaire class and the corporate class have done a masterful job of getting the working class people and the poor fighting over guns and all these other issues and border security and putting a face with a threat to why the reason that things are hard for you is because some migrant trying to sneak across the border to find a better life. These people aren't to blame for our problems. This is all about causing division. And the billionaire class and the wealthy class, the corporate class, have done a masterful job of creating fake enemies for us to vent our anger towards, while they're walking away with all the loot. And so, We have to get focused on the facts and on the issues. We generate these profits. And again, I go back to the pandemic. There was a great lesson in there. If you look at the fast food industry, what happened? Workers that were making $10 and $12 an hour working at McDonald's and places like that, they said, to hell with this. I'm not going to work and risking my life for this kind of wage.
Mm-hmm.
And so they stayed home. And then what happened? The pay went up to $20, $25 an hour because they needed people.
Mm-hmm.
There's a great lesson in that, to me, of the power that working class people have if we harness that power and come together. The billionaire class, the corporate class, they can make all the factories and create all the businesses they want.
Yeah.
But if the people refuse to go to work, we control it. We control the outcome. Nothing's going to get produced. And so we really have to get back to that, taking control of our lives and taking our lives back.
You said a few things I want to give you a chance to unpack for me. What you just said now about the pandemic, it's a powerful point, but my thought is, though, but it took a pandemic to make that happen, Shawn Fain.
Well, it's a shame. You think about this. I say this often. Why does it take tragedy or, a emergency for us to come together as people? When 9/11 happened, when a hurricane hits, when a tsunami hits somewhere, when the wildfires happen, we put aside all the differences we have and we come together. We don't look at race. We don't look at sexual orientation. We don't look at who you love as a reason. We come together and because we feel for each other. We love one another. That's how we're designed.
Mm-hmm.
Why the hell does it take a tragedy? Why can't we do that in good times, in prosperous times?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's my question. You and I are on the same page, and as evidenced by the pregnant pause and the deep silence, I don't have an answer to that, and neither do you at this point. We'll keep working on that. Let me ask you whether or not you think what happened for labor last year. As we said earlier, labor had a heck of a year last year. Do you see last year as an outlier, or do you think it is a trend? Is labor on the upswing?
I think it's a sign of things to come. I think people have realized that they're fed up and they're tired of being left behind. But I think, unfortunately, and looking inwardly, labor has done a horrible job. And I'll use the UAW as an example. I won't beat up on other unions or other labor leaders, but the UAW in my 30 years has done a horrible job of leading. And it's our obligation to humanity to lead this fight. And we haven't led. And those days are over. As long as I'm president, we're going to lead this fight, and we see other labor unions doing that now also. So we've got to lead and give people a reason to want to be a part of something bigger. That's why my grandparents' generation, they came out of a depression. They migrated north to find a future. Mm-hmm. They lived the American dream. They got union jobs, but that dream in the last 40 years has been dead. And so we have to lead it, and that's what led it in the early years of this nation and my grandparents' generation. So we've got to get back to that.
I was struck by your comments earlier this year around the King holiday, on the King holiday, in fact, I believe. And I had my people pull this clip that I want to share with the audience of you talking again on the King holiday. This audience knows that I am a King student. I've written a book about Dr. King. I regard Dr. King as the greatest American this country's ever produced. That's my assessment, the greatest American we've produced in this country. But here's Shawn Fain talking about the way he sees the connection between King and labor in America.
The fact is, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. is one of the greatest labor leaders in our country's history. He wasn't president of any union, and they don't call him a labor leader in history books. But the struggle for economic and social justice on and off the job was a core part of the story and the vision of Dr. King. As a labor leader myself, I see King as a direct inspiration and a guiding light of the 21st century union movement.
My view, Shawn Fain, is that the future of this experiment in democracy, this is my view, is inextricably linked to how seriously we take the legacy of Martin King. And by that legacy, I mean justice for all, service to others, and a love that liberates people. But tell me more about the way you see King's vision and the future of this democracy where labor is concerned, because you're right. When we think of King, most often we don't think of him as a great labor leader.
Well, you think about his last campaign before he was murdered. I mean, he was standing up for sanitation workers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was, again, I mean, he was, there with striking workers to speak and to support them. And, I say this all the time, the labor movement and the civil rights movement were inextricably intertwined, and they still are. As one goes, the other goes. And when as you've seen labor increase, you saw improvements with the civil rights movement. But as you've seen the attacks on labor in the last 40 years, you've seen us regress, and now you see, voter suppression laws and all these attacks, on people's civil rights. And so everything we do, again, it just shows how intertwined we are and how we have to stand together. And Dr. King was a master at this. We've got the division that is preached. I saw this the other night. It was on full display at the State of the Union address, and it just enraged me when the president recognized Betty Mae Fikes, spoke about this on this State of the Union address was on the 59th anniversary of Bloody Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
He recognized Betty Mae Fikes, the voice of Selma.
Sure.
And I purposely watched the room because Republicans weren't standing for very much of what was said that night. Now, I'm sorry, but when a woman like that was introduced and recognized, and I will say this, the majority of the room stood, but there were a handful of people that did not stand, and one of them had that red MAGA hat on. And I'll tell you, that says it all about what those people are about. And I'm sorry, but if you can't stand and recognize the sacrifice Betty Mae Fikes and these people made, then you're a disgusting human being, in my opinion. And so, but Dr. King, I look at so many leaders in the civil rights movement. John Lewis is one of my favorite Americans of all time.
Yeah.
Love the man. And the fact that, these people took beatings and they were willing to do whatever the hell it took. I talk a lot about Malcolm X in some of my speeches I've given about in our contract campaign. I use Malcolm X, a quote from him is, people will talk about, they'll tell you they believe in freedom, but then the next word will say what they won't do to get it. That person doesn't believe in freedom. And I would tell our members, it's the same thing with us. You can't say you want a great agreement, but then say what you aren't willing to do to get it. So, everything we do is so intertwined, and we have to stand together. We cannot let the powers that be divide us over race, over, like I said, sexual orientation, over where our borders are. We have to be united as a human race, and that's how we win this fight.
I got 5 minutes left with you, and I want to cover a few more things here. To your point about the president's address the other night, we all saw you in the gallery with the First Lady. You were a guest of the First Family at the speech the other night, and it was good to see you on the big screen. Let me just ask you very quickly to tell me about Joe Biden and labor. It's going to be a tough race this year, but talk to me about Biden and how he's done on labor issues.
Well, I mean, look, it's when I took over as president, there were some concerns I had with where we were headed as a union, and I met with the president early on and was very clear about our expectations, and but this is the testament of what leadership is. Joe Biden and his team went to work. They didn't complain. They didn't piss and moan and say, "Oh, we can't do this, can't do that." They asked, "How can we help? How can we help? How can we make this work?" We worked with the Department of Labor, Julie Sue, even Trade Ambassador Catherine Tai. I mean, President Biden had his team working with us, and I mean, we solved problems. We got this the EV battery, electric vehicle battery industry reined in under control, where it's going to be a just transition now. We saved the community in Belvedere, Illinois, that was written off for dead, where a plant was closed, and now there's going to be 2 plants built there. That's a president that gets it, and that's what leadership does. That's our choice in this election. You've got a current president that spent his life serving others and standing with working class people, and you've got the other candidate who has spent a lifetime serving himself and standing up for the billionaire class. And which is never more evident than in Trump's tax cuts for the rich under his presidency. 80% of the benefit of those tax cuts went to the top 1%. And all of us working class people, the ones that did get it, I didn't get a tax cut, but some working class people did.
Yeah.
All those tax cuts are expiring this year. But the ones for the billionaire class and the corporate class keep on going in infamy. So, when those tax cuts happen, when people realize this year when they file their taxes, they're not getting the same break, they need to channel that anger where it belongs. It belongs on Donald Trump. And but Joe Biden, I mean, he proved that night to me. He made it very clear that there's only one candidate for president that can lead. And leadership is about listening. It's not just about giving edicts and direction. Joe Biden listened to labor and worked with us. Yeah. Donald Trump just wants to give out barking orders, and then if you don't like it, he'll say you're fired. That's his two favorite words.
Yeah. Let me close with this. I got about 3 minutes left. I'll give all of it to you. I've been doing this for a few years of my life as a broadcaster on television, radio, and author and all that stuff. And I've seen a few labor leaders come and go in a bunch of different unions. And I have never, Shawn Fain, seen anybody like you. As I said, we're both from Kokomo, so maybe that makes us both strange. But I've never seen anybody quite like you. I mean, you talk about humanity. Here you are, a labor leader at UAW, talking about Israel and Hamas. You are very unapologetic about putting your faith forward. I ain't never seen a labor leader quite like you, man. Talk to me about the way your indoctrination impacts the way you lead UAW.
Well, I think it's just our life experiences. We all have our own life experiences that we go through, our trials. I mean, I was as a young father, when I had my first child. I mean, I was going through an apprenticeship. We were laid off a lot. I was on unemployment, getting $80 a week unemployment, which you couldn't even buy groceries with back then. And we ended up getting on government. We got WIC to get formula and diapers for our firstborn child. I don't forget those times. And, but I throughout my walk, I've, definitely rely on my faith. And first thing I do every day when I get up is I do a daily reading and I pray. And I never apologize for that. That is what, unfortunately, one party has tried to hijack religion for years. Yeah. And everything that they stand for is antithesis to what religion's about. I mean, the Bible I read is about love of your fellow human being. It ain't about I got mine and screw you. The Bible I read, what's the greatest commandment? When the lawyers tested Jesus, it was love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind. And the second one is like it. Love thy neighbor as thyself, meaning love your fellow human being. And when I see things like are going on with the border security debate, these people are no different than when I see a Mexican or someone from South America trying to cross the border, they're not my enemy. They're a destitute, desperate human being trying to find a better life. They are no different than my grandparents. The only difference between my grandparents and them is my grandparents had to cross state lines. These people are just trying to find a better life. They are not the enemy. And we have an obligation to humanity to stand up for human beings, regardless of where they come from. Yeah.
Ain't nobody like him. Ain't nobody like him. As you can tell, I'm a Shawn Fain fan, and I'm honored to have had him on this program. He is, of course, the history-making president of UAW, United Auto Workers, and I look forward to the years to come. Shawn Fain, honored to have you on this program, man. Thank you for your time, sir.
Well, the honor's mine, Tavis, and I'm a Tavis Smiley fan and always have been, so it's an honor to be here with you. So I look forward to talking to you more in the future.
I look forward to it. All the best, my friend. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
Hey, y'all. Mona Swain here from Target's new YouTube series, My Cart is Full, where we feature Black founders and creators highlighting their connection to our community. As an actor and content creator, I love using my voice to inspire young Black women who look like me. When it comes to feeding my shine, seeing myself reflected in Black-owned and founded products at Target brings me joy. Together, we are Black Beyond Measure. Learn more at target.com/Black Beyond Measure.
Cookie wants to be a professional wrestler.
I'm Cookie Serratos, and I'm 11 years old.
She also wants to win all the medals. That's why Cookie and her family make every day count, squeezing out her best with Go-Go Squeeze.
Okay, Cookie, let's break for a Go-Go Squeeze.
Go-Go Squeeze Fruit on the Go pouches are a nutritious snack made from 100% fruit with no sugar added.
Go, Cookie!
Because when you nurture your kids, you squeeze out the best in them. Squeeze out the best with Go-Go Squeeze. Not a low-calorie food. Products range from 11 to 13 grams of sugar and 60 to 70 calories per serving.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Texas's border security plan is now in year 3. In that time, state troopers have caught more than 500,000 illegal immigrants. They've also made more than 40,000 criminal arrests. Operation Lone Star has been a big part of the fight against fentanyl. Governor Greg Abbott says that nearly 500 million lethal doses have been seized. In Virginia, some Richmond restaurants are getting a chance to reach new customers. The 8th annual Richmond Black Restaurant Experience got underway yesterday. About 36 restaurants are featured in the week-long event. Organizer Jess Snyder tells CBS 6 the goal is to get exposure to these restaurants and caterers, to the food, and to the black businesses that really helped run the city. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network, and BINnews.com.
Robert Half research indicates 9 out of 10 hiring managers are having difficulty hiring. Robert Half is here to help. Their recruiting professionals use proprietary AI to connect businesses with highly skilled talent. At Robert Half, they know talent. Visit roberthalf.com today.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
A special day Sunday for the USC women's basketball program. The Trojans won the Pac-12 tournament championship for the first time since 2014. They also found out they can win a title game when freshman sensation Juju Watkins has a bad day. The nation's second leading scorer had only 9 points Sunday against Stanford. USC still won. The Trojans beat Stanford by 13 in Vegas. Guard Mackenzie Forbes stepped up with a game-high 26. USC should get a #1 seed in the NCAA tournament. The brackets will be announced next Sunday. The Lakers beat Minnesota by 11. Anthony Davis is the first player in NBA history to finish with 27 points, 25 rebounds, 7 steals, 5 assists, and 3 block shots. The Clippers lost to Milwaukee. They played without Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. George has a sore left knee. Kawhi is nursing a groin injury. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. We're not just a thermometer recording and broadcasting popular opinion.
We aim to be a thermostat.
Transforming the conversation about climate justice in our community. This is KBLA Talk 1580.
Need to hire? You need Indeed. Their end-to-end solution helps you attract, interview, and hire candidates all year round. Schedule and conduct virtual interviews right from your Indeed dashboard. Learn more by visiting Indeed.com/credit.
Do you support public education? More than 38,000 educators at United Teachers Los Angeles do too. Together, we have fought for a better public education for our students and communities, and having you on our side has been essential in our fight for better public schools. Together, we will continue to work for public schools with green spaces, more mental health staff, smaller class sizes at every grade level, and a higher investment in the Black Student Achievement Plan. We are UTLA, and you make us stronger.
Your floors can go from clean to dirty fast. From juice spills, whoops, to muddy paw prints, to little sticky finger marks. Good thing your Swiffer WetJet works fast too. Swiffer WetJet easily cleans everyday messes as quick as they happen. The next mess is right around the corner. So grab your Swiffer WetJet and just spray, push, all clean.
Taco Bell just dropped the new Cravings Value Menu. Now you can get 10 items for $3 or less, which means you can get the food you want for the price you want. It's almost like you can have your cake and eat it too. But in this case, it's a double-stacked taco from the new Cravings Value Menu. So basically, you can have your double-stacked taco and eat it too, which is a lot crunchier than cake. The new Cravings Value Menu is here. Get it at Taco Bell today. At participating U.S. Taco Bell locations while supplies last. Contact store for price and participation which vary. Tax extra.
I
I spray and scrub, but the soap scum in my bathtub is still there.
I spray and scrub, but the burnt sauce on my stovetop sticks around.
Sprays can leave grime behind, but new Mr. Clean Ultra Foamy Magic Eraser combines the scrubbing power of an eraser with the cleaning power of Dawn to melt away tough messes on contact.
Just wet, squeeze, and erase.
Stop spraying, start erasing, and clean with more magic than ever with new Ultra Foamy Magic Eraser.
Mr. Clean, Mr. Clean.
Smart talk for curious people just like you. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Alexander Hamilton Charon, who I'm delighted to have on this program for the last half hour today. So check this out. In 1981, an AM radio contest offered $50,000 to a single mother teetering on eviction, a schoolboy navigating identity, a Holocaust survivor, a daredevil racer living on the edge, and others who participated in a treasure hunt through Southern California. The Mighty 690 is a new book which delves into the takeaways of this iconic bit of radio history, the desperation, the redemption, the nostalgia. I'm pleased to welcome, as I said, lawyer and author Alexander Hamilton Charon to this program. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing well. I appreciate it. Honored to be here.
No, honored to have you on. There are a number of takeaways. I mean, when I first saw this and my producer and I were talking about it, I said, well, I think I can make this make sense to our audience. It is a radio audience. This is back in 1981. It's a very, very unique contest. Before I get into the particulars, why for you is this radio contest in 81? Why is it an interesting story?
It's a great question. So as a young man growing up in Southern California, I remember this radio contest very well, and it stuck with me. Really resonated with me throughout my life, both professionally and creatively. And it really is a unique period in time. So go back to Southern California in the summer of 1981. Los Angeles is very much in transition. The demographics are changing. The ecology is changing. And I wanted to capture that. And I think this is one of those last times where a radio contest like this could happen. Before we get into streaming, before we get into, instant gratification in terms of our media consumption, this really was sort of the last bastion of communal organization, communal interest in something as simple as radio. And in a town like Los Angeles and in Southern California, in the suburbs, before white flight, before people moved out of the cities and into the suburbs and sort of tried to realize that California dream, this was really a last grasp at Southern California and the state really living up to its dream as being a beacon for people in the U.S. that wanted to kind of fulfill that Hollywood ideal. Yeah, there's a great connection. As you know, I just talked to Sean Fain about the American dream and what it means for everyday people, workers trying to have that dream and not the nightmare that many people have been living through for far too long. So that's a great jumping off point. I've been processing what a contest like this. You send people who really need the money on this treasure hunt to try to gain $50,000. I've been trying to imagine what that would look like, sound like, feel like in real time. For sure.
Does that make sense?
It does.
What do you think?
Well, think about it. Today, $50,000 obviously isn't the same as it was in 1981.
Yeah.
And you bring up desperation. There really was a sense of desperation with this contest. I was always much more interested as a lawyer and as a storyteller in the people who the American dream didn't quite work out for. And what happens to the people that are chasing this dream and come up a little bit short. I always found that their stories were much more interesting than the people that actually won the money. But this concept of people from all over Southern California chasing this $50,000 very much out of need was always very inspiring for me, and really gave me some perspective. Today, think about how ecumenical those contests, those radio contests used to be. This was a radio station in 1981 that was transmitted from Tijuana, Mexico. The broadcast range reached all the way up to Santa Barbara. And so you captured L.A. County, Santa Barbara County, Riverside, the rich and the poor, sort of all people along the socioeconomic spectrum. And it was, again, kind of a last time where media like that was really ecumenical. It wasn't fragmented like it is today. And so that story really stuck with me, and the $50,000 was something very meaningful to these people.
How would you frame this radio contest where people who are desperate for money and need the help are part of a treasure hunt for 50 grand back in 81 with the way people play the lottery today out of that same kind of desperation. We're talking about the American dream. Again, you couldn't come behind a better person, Sean Fain, talking about this very same thing in a labor context. But how would you frame that contest then and people out of desperation chasing lottery winnings today?
Well, that is a great parallel and a great connection. A lot of similarities there, obviously. And you look at the motivation for people who participate in these contests. And again, one of the things that was so fascinating to me was no matter where you drove in Southern California, everybody was listening to this radio station, much like, when the news comes out that the lotto prize, tomorrow is $2 billion, lines around the block. And
even Tavis buys a ticket at that point.
as do I, or two, because I hear your odds go up if you buy two. But there are lines out the door no matter where you go. San Fernando Valley, lines out the door. Yeah. Long Beach, where I grew up, lines out the door. And it has a little bit of glimmer of that same ecumenical nature that everybody's involved. I think when you peel back, sort of these appearances, deep down, everybody's still chasing that American dream, whether it's through a radio contest or a lottery ticket.
We talked earlier with one of our guests about the soul of our nation and the condition, frankly, of the soul of our nation. What does it say about the soul of our nation? Let me put a finer point on this. The soul of our nation, which is the richest nation in the history of the world. I'll say that again. The richest nation in the history of the world. What does it say about the soul of our nation that people have to enter radio contest, buy lottery tickets to try to bail themselves out?
It's a great question. I really try to capture that in this book, The Mighty 690. So I think it speaks to where we as a nation, at least in my opinion, kind of come up short. And again, I'm a lawyer by training and profession, political consultant in my day job, and I got into journalism at a young age and never really pursued it seriously until in the courtroom and working on behalf of clients and on political campaigns. It brought me full circle back to that contest that for most people, the American dream comes up short, and that's our own doing, and it's a shame on us for doing that. And so for this story, it happens to be, people chasing cash that's buried somewhere in the landscape of Southern California. But whether it's a lottery ticket, whether it's investing in the stock market, whether it's investing in a small business, whether it's chasing clues, as this book points out, to find buried treasure, I think it is people trying to realize that dream, but ultimately, unfortunately, coming up a little short.
Tell me then about the contest in 81 here in Southern California that you've now fictionalized in this book, The Mighty 690.
So I wrote a story for the OC Weekly about 3 years ago, which was in my column called Yesternow, and the OC Weekly, unfortunately, is another victim of sort of journalistic conglomeration, so it no longer exists, no longer published, but it was a great publication. The editor at the time was a man named Nick Shao, who was a great writer and journalist in his own right, wrote a book called Kill the Messenger, which was turned into a movie starring Jeremy Renner, which was fascinating, which traced the link between journalist Gary Webb, who worked for the San Jose Mercury News, and the research he did on the CIA's involvement in the crack cocaine epidemic in South Central Los Angeles.
Know that story well, very well.
And as a result, he was discredited. Nick Shao wrote his story, and then gained some success as a result of that. Became editor of the OC Weekly and allowed me to write this article. So I did some research on the actual radio contest. So in the summer of 1981. Over the course of a week, this radio station, which was really struggling at the time to keep up with its counterparts on the FM dial, decided to throw a Hail Mary and put on this contest where they buried $50,000 in cash somewhere between the U.S.-Mexico border and Santa Barbara. Again, that's the transmission range for that station at the time. And then gave out a clue, one a day, every day for a week, that would lead people to the buried treasure.
Only in radio, right?
Only in radio. And only in 1981. Right?
More of this story when we come forward. Alexander Hamilton Charon on Tavis Smiley.
You're listening to Tavis Smiley. Tavis Smiley. Ranked number 45 on the Heavy 100 list of the 100 most important radio talk show hosts in America.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found BenefitsCheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. BenefitsCheckup.org.
My daughter was diagnosed with a rare malignant rhabdoid tumor on the spine. They sent her straight to St. Jude. My hope was gone. But when you get there, everyone's like, hey, we're not going to give up. And when you see other people not giving up on your child, that makes all the difference in the world. When I found out I didn't have to pay, I was just grateful. They saved my baby's life.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
Hey, I have a secret. I use Secret Whole Body Deodorant because more than just my armpits stink.
Oh, can I use it where my bra rubs under my...
Oh, yeah.
And what about down there? You know, my...
Totally. 4 out of 5 gynecologists would recommend it. So I tried it, and now I get 72 hours of freshness from my pits to my...
Ooh, I love that it's a spray.
Me too. And it comes in sticks and creams, too. Go get your Secret Whole Body Deodorant.
Planning for spring at Lowe's means big savings on outdoor power equipment, and Lowe's knows nothing feels better than free. Buy one select Ego string trimmer, leaf blower, or mower kit. Get one select 56-volt battery free. That's up to a $299 value. Power through spring with Ego, the #1 rated brand in cordless outdoor power. Because Lowe's knows home improvement. Valid through 4/3 while supplies last. Selection varies by location.
Sometimes I struggle to get to sleep. My body stopped for the day, but my mind is still running. So I take ZQuil.
ZQuil, the world's #1 sleep aid brand, has a range of non-habit-forming products to fit you and your family's needs. Invest in a great night's sleep for the best you tomorrow.
I'm awake and ready to take on anything.
Better days start with ZQuil nights. Explore our products at ZQuil.com. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Did you know that feeling sluggish or weighed down could be a sign that your digestive system isn't working at its best? Taking Metamucil every day can help. Metamucil fiber powders help promote your daily digestive health using a plant-based fiber called psyllium. The gelling action of this special fiber traps and removes waste so you can feel lighter and more energetic. Metamucil, promoting digestive health for a better you. Learn more at metamucil.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Let's get back to more of Tavis Smiley right now.
More of Tavis Smiley and Alexander Hamilton Sharon, who's author of the book, The Mighty 690. They called it the Summer of 50K back in 1981. So tell me more about the contest and how it actually played itself out.
So I was fortunate enough to talk to the program director and some of the management for the Mighty 690 who were around when this contest was held in 1981. And you got to remember, radio at that time was operating on a pretty shoestring budget. They were fighting for listenership. They were losing audience share to some of the big mega stations that were based in L.A. That were more aggressive on advertising. So this was really, sort of a rough and tumble world, guys figuring things out as they went along. And they thought that this contest would be their best shot at regaining some of that listenership. They figured, in 1981, if you're bearing $50,000 in cash, right, not a note, not a credit card. I mean, it was $50,000 in cash that you would get a lot of listenership and a lot of interest. And they ended up doing that. They got a little bit of a bump in terms of the ratings. This radio station, XTRA, on the AM dial. But unfortunately, that top 40 format that they had really couldn't compete. Yeah. And so, over the ensuing years, it's gone through several different iterations: sports talk radio, conservative talk radio, and now splits time between Vietnamese language radio and Spanish language radio. But really an interesting sort of photograph in time of what the radio landscape looked like, what Southern California, and again, this book is really a love letter to Southern California at that time, kind of what it looked like, but very emblematic of what was going on in other parts of the country in terms of AM versus FM, little guy versus big guy. How did I want to come back to the AM FM thing just a second here, just for on radio and talking about radio. How'd the contest work out? In real life, as I found out, my memories and sort of the way I fantasized about the contest and the way I wrote about it in this book, The Mighty 690, was much more interesting. In real life, the clues were pieced together and led a young man to the Redondo Beach Pier, where behind a license plate at a particular car was a note that said, hey, call the radio station for your $50,000 you've won. So this idea that it was $50,000 in cash ended up not being true. In real life, it was a note, and this 15-year-old kid found it. He had to go into the radio station with his parents to claim the prize. But again, just a fascinating snapshot in history.
This is sort of inside baseball, but it's become national news. Fortunately, there's been sort of a stay at the moment, if you will. But there's an assault now on AM radio, and why do I raise that? Because you're being heard on stations all across the country right now, and many of the stations playing this program right now are AM radio, and there's been sort of an attempt to in the future, speaking of Sean Fain, to build cars without AM radio in it. So there's an attack on AM radio, but most talk radio in this country is AM. Your thoughts, if you have any?
No, it's an important institution, and I would hate to see it go away. I did read that the new cars being manufactured, there was talk about eliminating the AM format, and to me that would be, cutting out a bit of our history, cutting out a bit of our sort of cultural significance and the cultural significance that radio has. Remember, the golden day of radio and the groundwork that it laid for future entertainment, whether it be FM or on television. Yeah. I mean, that was all laid with labor on AM radio. I mean, AM is the pillar, on which a lot of political talk, a lot of entertainment talk was based.
Radio is here to stay, and black people, the data tell us, love radio more than anybody. There is no community that embraces radio even today as much as Black America does, and I'm thankful for that. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Seeking the truth, speaking the truth. This is the Tavis Smiley Show.
Paid for by government.com. Did you know the United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time? Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
Hey there, Los Angeles. This is James Lucky Jr., publisher and editor of Los Angeles News Observer. Are you hungry for news that matters to you in the African-American communities of Los Angeles? Well, buckle up, because we got the scoop you've been craving. Stay in the know and never miss a beat with our free weekly publications conveniently available near you. Or hop on the digital wave and become an exclusive subscriber at OGNSC.com. Don't forget to join the party on Instagram and Twitter at OGNSCINC for behind-the-scenes access and sizzling updates. No more FOMO. Let's stay informed, connected, and empowered together.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 believes in community empowerment. LA's 99 neighborhood councils form the grassroots level of the Los Angeles city government. The system was created to connect LA's diverse communities to City Hall. While neighborhood council board members are volunteers, they are also public officials elected to office by the members of their community. Neighborhood councils advocate on issues like homelessness, housing, land use, emergency preparedness, public safety, parks, transportation, and sustainability. They also provide local expertise on the delivery of city services to their various communities. Neighborhood councils are open to participation by anyone who is a part of the fabric of daily life in said community. This includes those who live, work, or own property or a business. If you are interested in stepping up to join your local neighborhood council, visit www.empowerla.org. That's empowerla.org. It's time to think globally, but act locally. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
It's game day at Jim's house, and the spread is impressive.
Mike's already done some damage with the hot wings, and now he's dropping back and going deep for another slice of pizza.
I sure hope he brought the Pepto.
Mike knows that Pepto-Bismol provides fast 5-symptom relief from unexpected stomach upsets. He's no rookie.
The way he's throwing back those nachos, he's the GOAT.
Be ready for game day with Pepto-Bismol.
When you have nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
He's rooting for everybody black. Everybody black. More of Tavis Smiley coming your way right now.
His name is Alexander Hamilton Charon. His book is called The Mighty 690. You heard him say at the top of the conversation, though, that he, in his day job, is a lawyer and a political consultant. And I want to see if I can weave all this together. We were talking about the ways in which back in the day we had to have radio contests for people to try to win money that they needed to live their lives and take care of their families. Now it's lottery tickets. We're in the midst of an election that in many respects will come down to pocketbook issues. It seems to me if it comes down to pocketbook issues like it typically does, and the economy continues to be strong like it is now, Joe Biden should win in that contest. And yet you and I both agree that every poll, every study, and every survey isn't just a snapshot in time, because there's so many of them. There's a trend here. And I, frankly, am concerned. How are you feeling?
Well, speaking for myself, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm concerned as well. And as my people say, you think Joe Biden should be fine, as from your lips to God's ears. But
Yeah.
I unfortunately, I think the data doesn't bear that out. At least it'll be closer or more challenging.
Yeah.
And really, what's at stake are the people that are portrayed, like the fictional characters in this book.
Mm-hmm.
Again, this book, The Mighty 690, takes place in the summer of 1981, but very emblematic of things that are going on today and a lot of similarities. So
Yeah.
you've got a Holocaust survivor, you've got a single mother, you've got, a blue-collar motorcycle racer, all, by any standard at the time, marginalized.
Mhm.
Folks that are on the margins, and very much that's front and center for this election that's coming up too. This is really, how are folks on the margins, people that feel disenfranchised, how are they going to vote? Are they going to think that, President Biden isn't doing enough? Are they going to think that, hey, maybe Donald Trump resonates more with me, financially, in terms of, his foreign policy? But the people that are portrayed in this book are very much the types of people that are going to determine this election in November.
I did an editorial on my home station in L.A. We heard across the country, of course, on various stations, but on my home station in L.A., I did an editorial last week, and the theme of it was, if Joe Biden loses this election, with all the data, with all the polls, the surveys, the studies, et cetera, if he loses, my question in the editorial was, whose fault is it? So I close by asking you, if Joe Biden loses to Donald Trump this time around, with all the data, and I don't believe that you win elections by telling the voters they are wrong. I still, in a heartbeat, will take Biden over Trump any day of the week. But at the end of the day, if Biden loses, whose fault is it?
I'm going to give you a very evasive answer, and that answer is it's our fault. It's going to be our fault.
Who's the our?
That's that's in the details. So the R is a lot of people. The R, in my opinion, is the Democratic Party. The R are people who don't go out and vote, who take elections for granted. The R is the media, who has decided to treat political elections more like sporting events,
horse races,
than the sacred institutions that they are. So there's a lot of hours to go around, but in the end, it's going to be our fault.
Yep, that wasn't evasive. That was pretty straightforward. It was evasive until you unpacked it.
I'll take it. I'll take it. That's my lawyer training. That's my lawyer training.
Once you unpacked it, it made
That's
sense.
right.
His name, this lawyer's name, is Alexander Hamilton Charon. He's also an author. His book is called The Mighty 690, and I've been delighted to have had him on this program. Alexander, good to see you, my friend.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Just like that, 3 hours gone. That's our show today. Back here tomorrow, Lord willing, to do it all over again. We welcome Washington, D.C. We welcome New York City. We welcome Des Moines, Iowa. Glad to have you checking out Tavis Smiley. Until tomorrow, and as always, keep the faith.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Texas's border security plan is now in year 3. In that time, state troopers have caught more than 500,000 illegal immigrants. They've also made more than 40,000 criminal arrests. Operation Lone Star has been a big part of the fight against fentanyl. Governor Greg Abbott says that nearly 500 million lethal doses have been seized. In Virginia, some Richmond restaurants are getting a chance to reach new customers. The 8th annual Richmond Black Restaurant Experience got underway yesterday. About 3 dozen restaurants are featured in the week-long event. Organizer Jess Snyder tells CBS 6 the goal is to get exposure to these restaurants and caterers, to the food, and to the black businesses that really helped run the city. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network, and BINnews.com.
Robert Half research indicates 9 out of 10 hiring managers are having difficulty hiring. Robert Half is here to help. Their recruiting professionals use proprietary AI to connect businesses with highly skilled talent. At Robert Half, they know talent. Visit roberthalf.com today.
Is this the time? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The good news continues for the USC women's basketball program. After beating Stanford Sunday to win the Pac-12 tournament, the Trojans moved up to number 3 in this week's AP Top 25 rankings. It's the highest ranking for the program in 38 years. The Trojans will likely be one of 4 number 1 seeds in the NCAA tournament. 3 Pac-12 teams are in the top 6. Stanford is 4th, UCLA is 6th. The Lakers are 6 games over 500 for the first time since January 12, 2021. In their past 3 games, the Lakers have beaten the number 1 and number 2 teams in the Western Conference and the number 2 team in the East. NFL free agency begins today. Teams can start negotiating with players. Contracts cannot be signed until Wednesday. The Rams have about $29 million in salary cap space. The Chargers are $21 million over the cap. They need to get under the league limit by 1 p.m. on Wednesday. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Climate is king.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we believe that caring for the community means caring about the climate. You might have heard that we announced a pretty bold 12-month, $2 million campaign to do 4 things. Increase climate literacy, turn up the volume on communities of color in the climate conversation, connect everyday people